Good afternoon to everyone available here. So now we are going to session 6 on the day 2, right? So I will be very heartfully thanks to welcome our today's resource person who is Dr. B. Hemant Kumar, who is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Factory and Electronics Engineering from Sri Vidyanidhan Engineering College, Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh. And he has completed his PhD in electrical engineering from NIT Nagpur, Maharashtra in the year 2020. And he also completed his master degree from Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati in the year 2015. He completed his BTech in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from Narayana Engineering College, Guduru, Andhra Pradesh in the year of 2012. Moreover, he has received a Central Scholar Scheme of Scholarship from the Ministry of Human Research Development of India, and he is a best research poster presentation in BIT Nagpur. And moreover, he is having more than 12 repeated journals, which include SCIE alone, only SCIE alone, which includes book chapters and conferences, and which is international and national conferences also. So in this short duration of time, he has got more than 50 citations, and his area of interest is power electronics and drives, electrical machines, and control systems. So I like to hand over the session to our resource person today. Sir, will you please?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for my introduction. So, good afternoon to everyone. So let me make my video enable. So today the topic for the session is multi-level inverter pulse with different modulation techniques which are required to control the inverter, which is with respect to the application of EVs we are going to discuss in this session. So coming to about brief view of about layout of electric vehicle. As you know, we have a source like a DC. Always we are using a source like DC. So from the DC, so we are having DC to DC, and the back end we have a DC to AC, and finally we are going to control a AC drive if it is AC drive. So whatever we are going to see, it's a conventional block diagram, whereas fuel, engine, transmission, final drive, and you have a wheel. This is your old fashion. Now with respect to electric vehicle, you have a source of battery, and you have a power electronics topologies. After that, you have a motor or generator. So whenever you are going for regenerative braking, then that time your machine acts as a generator. During forward case, then that time your machine acts as a motor. That's why we have both motoring as well as generator. So whatever the machine you are going to consider here, it should be act as generator as well as motor and final drive as per your gear mechanism. So coming to different components of electrical drives in electrical vehicle, the mainly we have a battery, and then we are using DC-DC converter. Why? Because in order to suppose whatever the voltage level you are getting from the DC, so if that is not enough to drive your motor, then what we are doing? So we have a stage of DC to DC converter, which is like to increase the voltage level, whatever we are getting from the battery source. After that, since we are aiming to maintain a constant DC voltage here at the output of your DC-DC converter, after that, so you are using a DC to AC converter, which is popularly called as inverter. So from that, you are going to control any AC drive. Okay. So here, to control this DC to AC converter, so we have a different schemes. So one such scheme is, most popular schemes are PWM scheme. PWM stands for pulse width modulation techniques. So in this session, we are going to see what are the different shadow duty cycle control we can easily control, but whereas DC to AC, so have a many techniques based on the application point of view. We are going to pick one technique among the available techniques. So in this session, we are going to see some different some application oriented techniques. are using, whereas nowadays conventional two-level inverters are replaced by multi-level inverters because of the following advantages. The main advantage is it is having a better output voltage profile. Why? Because if you are using multi-level inverters, it can capable to produce the output voltage with lower THD. Suppose if you are giving AC supply with distorted AC supply to the machine, then performance of your drive is going to be deteriorated. So one way of improving your drive performance is providing better AC input supply to your drive. So in that, so instead of using conventional two-level inverter, we are going for multi-level inverters. The main advantage is going for better output voltage profile. At the same time, whatever the switches we are using to better. Low voltage is in the sense whatever the switch failure as well as whatever the switching losses. So all this with respect to multi-level inverter. So you are going to improve the voltage profile as well as you are going to reduce the switching losses. At the same time, you are going to control the electromagnetic interference when you are, since all these elements are connected in a single printed circuit boards, where there is a high chance of having a electromagnetic interference. When we are going for multi-level inverters, there is a chance of reducing electromagnetic. There is a chance of having low EMI. So that's why in place of this DC to AC converters, nowadays multi-level inverters are highly used. So now we are going to see what are the different schemes that to control multi-level inverters. Basic conventional multi-level inverters are, one such multi-level inverter is neutral point clamped or direct clamp multi-level inverter. It is a very conventional one. So, but the drawback of this the drawback of this multi-level inverter is it is not a modular, because since it requires one DC source and we are going to connect all the three. If any one of the phase is going to be a damage, then it is not going to be reliable. So neutral point clamped inverter, as well as this is one more conventional multi-level inverter is flying capacitor topology. So here also whereas in neutral clamped inverter, so you are using diodes to clamp these transistors, whereas in flying capacitor topology you are using you are using capacitors to clamp these switches. Voltage levels are more than 3, then you can say it's a multi-level inverter. So this is the topology for flying capacitor, which will use output voltage as 3 levels. This is the topology of flying capacitor, which gives output voltage of 5 levels. So you can say this is 5 level flying capacitor topology. But this is also having a drawback as it is not reliable. This topology is not reliable. So this requires separate DC source. Nowadays we have we are using solar sources, so panels you can use individual panel to each HP, so that uh, you can use as per your application. At the same time, you can operate these inverters in asymmetric mode, means one HP you are exciting with one DC source, other HP you are exciting at some other DC voltage levels at the output side, so that the smoothing of your AC voltage waveform is going to be improved. So finally, what happens once you are once you are producing AC voltage with lower THD, then definitely your drive performance is going to be improved. So that flexibility is available in CHB topology compared to flying capacitor as well as diode bridge topology. So among these three, in our work, we have preferred CHB topology for our research work. Let's say one brief comparison. If you see the comparison of these three topologies together, so more or less for all the three topologies, diodes, Whereas in flying capacitors, you require additional balancing capacitors. Whereas in cascade edge bridge, you don't require any diodes as well as any capacitors. And whereas in these two topologies, since you are providing one DC source, but you have to maintain the capacitor voltage, balancing issues are required. So whenever you are designing a topology to control for the application, not only with respect to the load point of view, you have to take care of capacitor voltages, maintaining strip voltage. So that your control strategic complexity will increases. And just now I told you asymmetric input voltage configuration is also possible in H-bridge. So these are the possible. These are the advantages compared to direct clamped inverters and flying capacitor multi-level inverters. So these are very conventional. From these topologies only nowadays researchers are trying to propose new topologies with reduced switch count or fault tolerant multi-level inverters or so. Next, coming to multi-level inverter modulation techniques. So whatever be the inverter, whether it is a flying capacitor or diode clamp or else cascade bridge or any other topology, if you have an inverter, then definitely you need a proper control strategy to control that inverter. Otherwise, you will not get a balanced output voltage at the inverter, or else you are not going to get proper sinusoidal shape of your output. So unless until if you are not providing balanced output voltage, then your load, the same voltage you are going to give to the drive. It's whether it is AC motor or DC motor or some other motor, you are going to feed this supply to the motor. So ultimately your drive performance is depends on the quality of the output of your inverter. So in order to get better quality of the inverter, you have to design your control strategy properly. So there are, based on the switching frequency, so multi-level modulation techniques are classified into three types. One is fundamental switching frequency and mixed switching frequency and high switching frequency. Again, fundamental switching frequency in the sense how many switchings has to be happen in one cycle. So based on that parameter, this classification is divided. In the fundamental switching frequency, we have a selective harmonic elimination, nearest level control, and nearest vector control. Whereas in mixed switching frequency, you have a hybrid modulation. And whereas your high switching frequency PWM, you have a level shifted PWM, phase shifted PWM, and space vector PWM. So in this session, we are going to see how these techniques are going to relate in brief. So coming to selective harmonic elimination technique. So in that selective harmonic elimination technique, so since your inverter is aimed to produce AC voltage, right? So if there are any harmonics, lower order harmonics, that lower order harmonics may deteriorates your drive performance. So if you want to eliminate any particular harmonics, third order harmonics, fifth order harmonics, seventh order harmonics, then in that case you are going to produce a switching pulses as per this selective harmonic elimination technique. So what it happens is, if suppose this is the 3-level output voltage phase waveform, switching angles per quarter cycle are going to be predefined, and we have to calculate based on the Fourier analysis. So mathematical analysis as well as some initial knowledge also required. So you require a knowledge of solving these type of trigonometric equations. After solving these trigonometric equations, you are going to get the values of alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3. Based on that alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, you are going to design a switching pulses to the inverter, so that whatever be the aim we have kept while calculating these alpha values, so the respective harmonics is going to eliminate it at the output voltage waveform. Okay, but the drawback is you require the knowledge of mathematical, and it is very difficult to solve such a complex trigonometric equations. Otherwise, this is very simple technique, and it is the fundamental switching frequency. Means in one cycle only one switchings are happen. So the advantage of this particular technique is the switching loss are, there is very less switching losses, but the thing is the output voltage, RMS output voltage waveform is RMS output voltage value is low. At the same time, and you don't have a control. There is no reliability in the switching states. So this is just for to remove any particular harmonics. You can eliminate at a time 2 harmonics, either you can eliminate at a time 3 harmonics, or it's as per if more number of harmonics you want to eliminate, then you are going to get more number of trigonometric equations, so that you have to solve all the equations together. So then finally you will get some values alpha 1, alpha 2, the triggering instance. According to it, you are going to design a switching logic. So respective harmonics are eliminated in the technique. Then coming to nearest level control technique. So in this as your reference signal. So and then you are going to stepping that particular signal in terms of steps. Then after that you are going to write a switching logic. What are the switches to be turned on for in order to get respective positive level or respective negative level voltage instance? According to that, you are going to generate a switching pulses, so that you are going to get desired waveform. So in this technique, it is not going to eliminate any particular harmonics. It is the scholars who are going to work on the topologies, so they are going to prefer this type of logic because it is very simple. These techniques are they are going to use to validate their topologies, and it is also working on fundamental switching frequency, so that more lower order harmonics are high in the output voltage, which is not at all satisfactory with respect. One more fundamental switching frequency is nearest voltage control technique. In nearest voltage control technique, it is as simple as, it is not as easy as nearest level control technique, but it is just alternative to selective harmonic elimination. Whereas in selective harmonic elimination, I already told you, you requires the knowledge of offline calculations, because what are the different values of alpha 1 selective harmonic elimination, that is overcome, and they have found a new technique, nearest vector control technique. And the thing is, it has good dynamic performance, because in this technique what we are doing, we are going to generate a reference vector, so that nearest 3 vectors with respect to that reference vector, it is going to pick wherever your reference vector is there. So here reference vector is that sinusoidal voltage, sinusoidal waveform we are considering as a reference vector, because our aim, the main aim of inverter is to produce AC voltage, right? So AC voltage is in the shape of sinusoidal in nature. So here we are going to select a sinusoidal waveform, which is a reference waveform. So we are going to track that reference waveform at each sampling instant. So every time what it is going to do in this technique, the nearest voltage vectors with respect to that, so that you are going to get AC voltage. The drawback of this particular control technique is it is having high lower order harmonics in the output voltage. Because of this lower order harmonics in the output voltage, your it's coming to mixed switching frequency technique. So mixed switching frequency technique is useful for the topologies where there is a possible of asymmetric combination. Asymmetric multi-level inverter combination means, suppose if you in your inverter, if you require 2 DC sources, then you are going to operate one DC source at some other voltage level, other DC source with some other voltage level. Then you can say that topologies are in the single topology. We are going to prefer the frequency. Why? The cell which is operating with low voltage, it is controlled with high switching frequency. That the cell which is operating with high DC voltage is controlled with low the switching losses are going to be reduced. At the same time, the efficiency of the inverter is going to be improved. The module, you can see here, the module with the low power operates with the PWM with high switching frequency, whereas the module with the high power is operating with the low frequency. Here, high power extends to higher voltage, whereas low power means the lower voltage. Whichever be the cell, whichever be the connected with the high DC voltage is operated with lower switching frequency. So it is a blend of with high frequency as well as low switching frequency. Now we'll discuss what are the switching techniques which comes under high switching frequency. Which is a carrier based technique. So in that, what we are doing, we have a sinusoidal signal and we have a carrier signal, and every time your sinusoidal signal is compared with the carrier signals, and we are going to generate a pulses, and several carrier techniques have been developed to reduce the distortion in multi-level inverters based on the classical sine PWM with triangle. Are placed in a, these are the level shifted PWM. In that, we have a three categories. One is phase dispersion, phase opposition dispersion, alternative phase opposition dispersion. Level carrier means all the carriers are covered your sinusoidal wave from P to. How many carriers are required? It depends on the how many level of inverter you are going to work. Suppose if you are working on 9 level inverter, then 9 minus 1 carriers are to be required. Means 8 carriers. Since this is the case for 5 level inverter, so you require 4 carriers. Okay, and since your carrier, all carriers are in the same phase, that technique we are calling it as a phase dispersion technique. If with respect to zero axis, above the zero axis each other, then you can say that is phase opposition dispersion. Then if adjacent carriers are in anti-phase, then those are alternative phase opposition dispersion. Almost more or less all the techniques use the same voltage profile. The thing is, whenever you are, it depends on the topology. Whenever you are working with flying capacitor or direct clamper, then you are going to prefer. Then it's not only power in such topologies. Your objective is not only producing the better voltage profile. At the same time, in order to achieve that, you have to maintain. Most of the people, they are using phase dispersion sinusoidal PWM technique, level shifted PWM technique. They are going to prefer in their application. This is one example for output voltage of 5 level converter with phase dispersion level shifted PWM. How they are going to generate means, this is your red color is your reference wave, and these carriers are your triangular triangles are your carrier waves. So every time, based on the intersection point between the reference wave and carrier wave, you are going to generate a pulse. That pulse you are going to give the switches accordingly, so that the number of instances are going to be produced. Since this is the example of 5 level inverter output, since that's why we are using 4 carriers. So you got 5 levels. This is plus 2 VDC and plus VDC, 0, minus VDC and minus 2 VDC. In this way, we are going to release 5 level output by using phase dispersion level shifted pulse width modulation technique. This is popularly known as sine PWM technique, because we are using sinusoidal as a reference signal. So that's why these techniques are popularly called as sinusoidal pulse width modulation technique. And under that, previously we have seen level shifted. Now it is a phase shifted. Means whatever be the carriers we are going to use, then those are phase shifted by some angle. So phase shifted PWM is a natural extension of traditional PWM techniques, and these are designed conceived with respect to flying capacitor and CHB converters. Whenever your topology has like a units like 1 HB, it's a 1 unit. So like that, if you see in a HB topology, you have a number of units are connected together to achieve the required voltage. Similarly, so such topologies, if you are working, then phase shifted PWM is preferable. So N level inverter uses a phase shifted is introduced between the carriers of continuous signal, producing the phase shifted between them. So the lowest distortion can be achieved when the phase shifts carriers are 360 by K and 360 by N minus 1, where K represents the number of power cells and 360 by N minus 1, where N represents the number of multi-level inverters. Suppose if you are working on 5-level inverter, then the angle between two carriers is 360 by 5 minus 1, 360 by 4, that is 90 degrees. So 90 degrees, since you are using 4 carriers for 5-level inverter, so that the phase angle between adjacent two carriers should be 90 degrees. During that time, the angle between two adjacent carriers is 360 by K. Okay, where K is nothing but 2. So during that time, the angle between two we are going to generate this phase shifted PWM, where the angle between two adjacent carriers is depends on the type of the topology, or else depends on the number of inverter levels that you are going to working on. This is the output voltage of 5-level converter with phase shifted LSPWM. This is your sinusoidal, and if you see, since it is a 5-level inverter, you have a 4 carriers. Our 4 carriers are shifted by, there is an angle between, with respect to these two, you have a 90 degrees. So according to that, you are going to design a modulation strategy so that you are going to exert these pulses to the inverter, so that required output voltage is going to get. Then after that, the very important technique is space vector pulse modulation technique. So this technique is very popular nowadays because of its own advantages that we'll see in detail. So, but the drawback is the drawback of this technique is it is little bit complex to realize. But the thing is, once you realize, then you have many advantages. Based on your application point of view, you can design control strategy accordingly. The space vector. So let us take the 2-level inverter, 3-phase 2-level inverter, there where we have a 1 DC source and we have a 6 switches. So where VDC stands for DC link voltage and CD stands for DC link capacitor voltage, and assume that VA0, VB0, VC0 are the instantaneous load voltages. Now we are going to see how this space vector PWM technique is going to realize for conventional 2-level inverter. Later we'll see how this technique is going to be applied for multi-level inverters. Whereas whatever we have seen till now, low switching frequency like NLC and NV, nearest vector control, and selective harmonic elimination, whereas carrier based PWM technique, all are same. So for a 2-level inverter or multi-level inverter, just simply the number of carriers waveforms are increases, simple. Whereas in space vector, it's not like simply correlation for 2-level to higher level. So there is some standard procedure how to realize space vector for multi-level inverter. To realize space vector for multi-level, we'll see how to realize the SVPWM for 2-level inverter. So for a 2-level inverter, so since it is a 2-level inverter and it is how many phases? It's a 3 phases. So the number of switching states are 2 cube, 2 to the power of phase. How many? It is like number of levels to the power of number of phases. Since it is a 2-level inverter, 2 to the power of 3. So total 8 switching states you are going to get in your 2-level inverter. So we cannot say it's a multi-level inverter. Multi-level inverter is nothing but if your inverter is producing more than 3 voltage levels in a phase output, then you can say it's a multi-level inverter. So how to generate these 8 switching states? Out of 8 switching states, so you have a 6 switching states are active voltage vectors and 2 are zero vectors. Means if you provide pulses with respect to V0 and V7, you are going to get 0. If you are going to give pulses with respect to either one of the active state, you are going to get some output voltage. Here 0 stands for lower switch in a respective leg. Since you have a 3 states, first one is related to R phase, Y phase and B phase. Okay, R phase, Y phase and B phase. So 0 stands for the lower switch in a respective leg is on, and P stands for upper leg in a respective switch on. If all the lower switches are, if all the lower leg switches are on, then you are going to get 0. Or if all the upper switches is on, then you are going to as a 0. So 8 possible switching states combination in the 2-level inverter are 6 active states and 2 zero vectors. These are the how to get these vectors means we'll see step by step. So initially, whatever the analysis we are discussing, it is assuming that your inverter is operating at balanced condition. Means you are going to whatever be the load we have connected, whatever the operation of your inverter, it should be balanced condition. So by assuming that balanced condition, so we can write it VA0 plus VB0 plus VC0 equal to 0. And then since phase vector is applicable only for 3-phase system, so whatever the analysis we are carrying out for determining the switching states, we are working on 2-phase system. So initially what we are doing, we are converting the 3-phase system into 2-phase system. So with the help of Fox transformation, so after converting this 3-phase to 2-phase transformation, and we are going to write a reference vector V alpha equal to V of t equal to V alpha of t plus J of V beta of t. Since it is like what happens, so since every vector it has some real value and you have a imaginary value. So whatever the V alpha term you are getting from here, whatever the V beta term you are going to get here, if you substitute here, then you are going to get a reference vector in this fashion. V by t 2 by 3 VA0 e power J0 plus VB0 e power J 2 by 3 plus VC0 e power J 2 by 3. So VA0, VB0, VC0, if you substitute this value, for active switching states, let us say one example P0. If suppose if in a leg, if upper switch is on, then 2 by 3 VDC. If lower switch is on, then you are going to get minus 1 by 3 VDC. That is conventional 2-level inverter produces voltages. So if P00, let us take a state of P00. So V lower switch in the same lower leg in the B phase is on. So VB0 equal to minus 1 by 3 VDC and VC0 equal to minus 1 by 3 VDC. If you substitute all these values in previous equation, this equation, okay. Since then we are going to get V1 equal to 2 by 3 VDC e power J0. Means this whatever be the voltage vector after application of P00. Since you have a 3 different states, you have a combination of 8 different combinations, 2 cube combinations, 0 0 0 0 0 P 0 P0 like that. So we have taken one active state P00. Since after applying respect to node voltages, then you are going to get the voltage vector of V1 equal to 2 by 3 VDC E power J naught. It indicates that it has a magnitude of 2 by 3 VDC at an angle of 0. So that's why this vector is named as V1. So where you are going to place this vector V1? Equal to, sorry, VA naught equal to 1 by 3 VDC and VP naught equal to 1 by 3 VDC and VC naught equal to minus 2 by 3 VDC. If you apply these three in equation number 5, then you are going to get the vector as V2, which is 2 by 3 VDC E power J 5 by 3. So like that, if you apply all these vectors, you are going to get V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. These are all active vectors, and 0, 0, 0 and PP, this is your zero vectors. And so what we are doing, these vectors based on the topology. So since it is a two-level inverter, we have 8 switching states, 8 voltage vectors. These are the voltage vectors. So now you got the idea, right? How to obtain these voltage states. These are the 8 voltage vectors. How these are proper? What is the location in a space vector diagram is based on the angle. Based on the angle you are getting here. Since if you are by application of P00, you got this vector, so you have placed here V0, V1, V2, V4, V5, V6, and 0, 0, 0 and PPP. And this is the space vector diagram for two-level inverter. I told you, right, initially we are converting ABC to alpha beta system. This is alpha axis and this is your beta axis. So and the phase angle between these two axes is 90 degrees. Okay, and so in the space vector diagram, what we are doing, these are the vectors that we can relate with generating a reference vector. Every time what we are doing, we are going to track this reference vector with the nearest 3 vectors. You can see. So whatever the zero vectors and active vector, this does not move in space, and that's why they are called as stationary vectors. Whatever be the vectors, we have achieved V0, V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, and V7. Those vectors are not move in space. Therefore, those are fixed. That's why we are calling those vectors as stationary vectors. Whatever the reference vector we are referring, sinusoidal voltage, which is to be desired, that is desired. The reference voltage V reference, the reference sinusoidal voltage desired to be generated by the inverter, and this magnitude of this reference vector, it means, suppose since you have a fixed DC voltage and you are controlling inverter with some control charge, where you have a control of changing this modulation index. So whenever you have a load like some induction motor, so you are going to control the speed of your induction motor. So suddenly, based on your application, you want to reduce your speed. Okay, you want to reduce your speed, but so during that time, what happens to reduce the speed? If you are applying stator voltage control, what you have to do, you have to reduce the output voltage produced by the inverter. So during that time, since your DC voltage is fixed, then your control charge you have to change so that your output voltage of your inverter has to be reduced. So during that cases, we are going to reduce the modulation index as per the application point of view. So if unity modulation index means maximum with for a fixed DC voltage, then your output voltage also varies. And we'll see in the results what happens if you change the modulation index. And the reference vector, the main important task in the space vector pulse width modulation technique is the reference vector. So this reference vector we have to be tracked, like it we have to track this reference vector in the space. So how to track this means, whatever be the nearest 3 vectors with respect to this reference vector, based on the switching states of the inverter, we are going to be selected. Once you found out the nearest three vectors related to switching reference vector, then it's the time to select the, you have to calculate the times, how much time you are going to apply each vector. So that switching instance can be calculated with the help of a voltage seconds balancing principle. So we are calling those times are dwell time equations. So how to calculate those dwell times is assuming that TS is a sample period small enough, so that time it is considered as a constant. As with respect to context, your V reference vector is continuously rotating 180 degrees with a frequency of fundamental switching frequency. So what we are assuming that, so we are with a sampling instant. So we are giving a sampling time, so that during that sampling time you are assuming that E variable is a constant. So once it is a constant, you are having a particular portion in the space. So you are finding that where in which sector it is, in which sector V reference vector is there. So according to that, you are going to pick the nearest three vectors. So in the same fashion, so after selecting the nearest three vectors, it's your work to calculate the switching times, popularly called dwell times. So reference vector can be approximated by the adjacent two active vectors and one zero vector. Let us say if V reference vector lies in sector 1. So I didn't told you about sectors, right? Let me give. If theta lies in between 0 to 60, then you can say it is sector 1. And theta is in between 60 to 120, then you can say it is sector 2. And theta lies in between 120 to 180, then it is a sector 3. And theta lies in between 180 to 240, then it's a sector 4. And theta lies in between 240 to 300, then it's a sector 5. And theta lies in between 300 to 360 or 0 degrees, then it is sector 6. Okay, so first you are going to find the sector, and then you are going to find the nearest three vectors in the space vector diagram. In the same fashion, let us say if your V reference vector lies in sector 1, so that the nearest three vectors to synthesize the reference vector is V1, V2, and V0. Okay. After that, you are going to write a volt second balancing equation. This TS is the sampling time. So what we are talking carrier frequency with respect to the sinusoidal PWM technique. So here we are giving as a sampling time, because we are going to sample the V reference vector. So that's why here we are calling sample time. So this TS we are giving V reference into TS, then V1 TA, because the application of vector V1 is given by TA times, and how much time you are going to apply vector V2 is TB time, how much time you are going to apply your V0 is T0 time, and so here the two equations, three unknowns. So from this we are going to get in terms of modulation index if TA TB are the delta times for the application of V1, V2, and V0 respectively. These TA, TB, TD, by using this, and we are going to express the delta times is in the fashion TA equal to TS, where TS is nothing but sampling time, M stands for modulation index. I told you right, M, if you have a fixed DC voltage, if you want to vary the output voltage, AC output voltage, then you are going to vary the modulation index. So this modulation index also presented in the calculation of delta times. TA, TB, TC, where M stands for √3 V reference by VDC. This DC is nothing but DC voltage, and V reference is nothing but whatever be the reference voltage we are going to track in space vector. So that's your reference voltage, and it is like 0 to 1. So TA, TB, TC. So once you know TA, TB, T0, and once you know the nearest three vectors, then you are going to design a switching sequence. So for that we have to consider 2 points while designing the switching sequence. So switching sequence designed for any reference vector wherever its location, whether it is sector 1 or sector 2, wherever be the location of your reference vector, it has to satisfy some requirements for the minimization of device switching frequency. It requires only 2 switches, the same inverter leg. So one is being switched off and another is being switched off. And second one is, whenever there is a transition moving from one sector to another sector in the same space vector diagram, it requires a minimum number of switchings. So why? Because in a one sector we have a 3 different nearest 3 vectors. If another sector there are 3 different near vectors. Whenever your reference vector is transition is happening from one sector to another sector, we have to design a switching sequence in such a way that there should be less number of switchings to be happen, right? Because more number of switchings causes to more switching losses, so that your inverter efficiency may be decreases. So by, in order to improve the efficiency of the inverter, you have to design your switching sector. There should be less number of switchings or minimum number of switchings you have to be considered. And in conventional, seven segment switching sequence is preferred. TS is 7 segment switching sequence is the main advantage of space vector compared to sinusoidal predominantly, though the technique is complex, but the thing is you have a redundant switching states here. So redundant switching states with respect to two-level inverter is 0 states. So 0 state we can realize with 2 different voltage vectors, either V0, either V7, or either V0. So redundant switching states for V0 are utilized to reduce the number of switching per sampling period, and the switching frequency of the device is equal to the 1.ts. That is, so how the switching frequency is. This is like 7 segment switching sequence for reference vector in all the sectors. Let us take one example. Yeah, sector 1. Let us take sector 1. These are the 7 segments. 7 segment in the sense, this is 1, 2, 3, and this is 4. Total together T0. This is completed T0 time, and then 5, 6, 7. So total. So what happens? We are so initially T0 by 4 times you are applying a V0 vector. So V0 vector means what? All are zeros. That's why if you see here, all are zeros here. Here you have a high logic P, and here you have a 0, and here you have a 0. V2 means PP0. So here P, here P, B phase, and C phase is 0. V7 means all are P's. Here high, 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 again V7, high, 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 again V2. Because if you see in at any instant, if you see at this instant only A phase is switched, means only one switching has happened. If you see at this instant only B phase is switching. One state to another state, very less number of switchings are happened. That's what the objective. This objective, first objective. The transfer from one switching state to next involves only 2 switches in the same inverter leg. So one is being switched off, another is being switched on. And the same way, if you say transition from sector 1 to sector 2, sector 1 is SC is at low and SB at low and SC at low. So only which, if you see sector 2, the design is starts at high, low, low. Only A phase is switchings are happening with respect to A phase only. So when you are moving from sector 1 to sector 2, the second objective is fulfilled, means less minimum number of switchings you have to design a switching sequence. Once you have done this switching sequence pattern, then you are going to give the So this is the results by realizing space vector for space vector pulse width modulation technique as well as sinusoidal pulse width modulation technique for inverter. I do to write modulation index for different modulation index. If you say 0.2 modulation index, so if you are in sinusoidal PWM, if you keep 0.2 modulation index, then your THD of your output line voltage is 42.18, whereas this is 38.43. At the same time, for the same modulation index, for the same, both are inverter is operating at same DC voltage. Okay, so during that case, 112 for the same for the fixed DC voltage, you are getting more output RMS voltage compared to your sine freedom tech. Even though there's a little bit there is a complexity in realization, but there are so many advantages compared to sinusoidal PWM technique. Those who are working only on topologies, so they want simple technique which is to validate their topologies. So those the people who are working on topologies, they can use simple SPPDM technique. So whenever you are working on any closed loop application, or whenever you are working in grid integration, whenever you are working on developing a drives, so during that time, so instead of using SPPDM technique, it's preferable reliability with respect to availability, redundancy switching states. So by seeing this comparison table, space vector is preferred over sinusoidal PWM technique for multi-level inverters. One is higher DC bus utilization. For the same modulation index, if you see, space vector is providing more DC bus voltage, more RMS output voltage compared to your sinusoidal PWM, and lower harmonic disruption. For unity modulation index, it is having 8.65 THD. This is having 9.70 THD. And availability of redundant switching states. Since for two-level inverter, zero states having redundancy, means two voltage vectors are associated with the zero states, and lower switching losses. Why? Because whenever you are designing a switching sequence, whereas in sine PWM technique, carriers and then comparing that carriers with the reference signal, and then you are going to give the pulses. So there you don't have a control over the designing of switching, how many switchings are happening. So whereas in space vector, while designing your control strategy, you have a flexibility to design a switching sequence. So once if you optimize your designing of switching sequence, then you can able to control lower switching. You can able to control the switching losses, inverter switching losses, so that the efficiency of the inverter is gets improved, so that your overall system efficiency also better, because inverter is a part of your drive system, and improving multi-level inverter reliability. So this improving multi-level inverter reliability means, so if any one of the switches fails in your inverter, so then what happens? So because of that, you may get unbalanced voltage at the unbalanced output voltage at the inverter side, or else there is no output. If there is no redundancy, if you have a redundancy, then you can produce some balanced output voltage. There are number of research papers are available, improve the improve the reliability of your inverter fault of your inverter by applying space vector PWM technique. If there are two ways of improving the reliability. One is straight away improving the uh, fault tolerant multi-level inverters. Another way of, with the conventional topology only, if you want to improve your reliability, then based on the availability of redundancy switching states, you are going to produce the output voltage even though there is a fault in your inverter. PWM technique to realize for multi-level inverters. how to realize space vector PWM technique for multi-level inverters means I'll give just idea. So these are the steps you have to follow in space vector PWM. So first thing is you have to find the location of the reference vector, reference voltage vector, or location of the triangle where the tip of your reference vector lies. So that is your first step. Why when you are realizing your space vector, you should find out where your reference vector lies in the circle space vector diagram. Once you find out the tip of your reference vector, the location of your tip of the reference vector, then you have to find out the nearest three vectors with respect to that reference vector. Okay, once your selection of your nearest three voltage vectors are over, then you have to calculate the times, which are popularly called dwell times. Dwell time is nothing but how much time your each vector is going to be applied. Are over, then designing of optimal switching sequence based on the availability of redundancy switching sets. Then last point is depends on based on the application, what type of application you are going to work. According to that, you are going to design the switching sequence. So during this design only, you are going to control the capacitor voltage balancing issues as well. So all these issues, so if your inverter is having reliability problem, so how to take care that reliability as well while designing the switching sequence. And at the same time, if your inverter has a capacitors, you have to take care of that charging and discharging of your capacitors. So all those parameters you have to consider while designing a switching sequence based on the availability redundant switching steps. And basically, the space vector technique for multi-level inverters are natural extension of space vector PWM taking apart for two levels. If you want to realize for multi-level inverter, you should know how to realize the space vector diagram for two-level inverter. Unless until knowing how to realize for two-level inverter, it is very difficult to apply for multi-level inverters. Let us see space vector diagram, how to realize space vector pulse modulation technique for multi-level inverter. So in this work, I have considered a 9-level inverter. So if you see, this is the space vector diagram for 9-level inverter, total block. So what this technique is, it's a conventional approach. What this conventional approach will do, the disintegration of higher level hexagons into lower level hexagons. This is the concept we are following. So indirectly, what we are going to do here means we are going to find the two-level hexagon where your tip of your reference vector lies. Since we are starting with the 9 level, that 9 level is converted into 5 level. That 5 level is converted into either 3 level or 2 level. Then finally, you are going to find out the 2-level hexagon where your tip of your reference vector lies. So what is the process to find out the final 2-level hexagon means? Suppose let us take 9-level hexagon. So basically 9-level hexagon has 1296 lookup tables, means 1296 2-level hexagons. 9 level 6 cube 9. Okay, so but in this technique, what we have done by reducing 1296 to 144 2-level hexagons, we are realizing 9-level space vector modulation technique. So how it is will be initially this is one 5-level hexagon, this is another 5-level hexagon, this is another 5-level hexagon, and this is another 5-level hexagon. So 9-level SVD is completely divided into 6 5-level hexagon based on the value of theta. Based on the value of this theta, you are going to select the respective 5-level hexagons. So based on the value of theta, you are going to select respective 5-level hexagons. And once you are selected 5-level hexagon, then you have to map the 9-level reference vector to 5-level reference vector, because initially your reference vector is origin starts from the 9-level hexagon. Once you are selected respective 5-level hexagon, then red color is your reference vector. Initially, your reference vector origin is from 9 level. Once you have selected 5 level hexagon, then you have to shift this reference vector from center of 9 level hexagon to selected 5 level hexagon. This white color means from here to here, means mapping of your reference vector has to be done from 9 level to 5 level. This fashion we are going to map. So how to map? Suppose will come 49 alpha minus 5v, whereas v by theta is same as v9 beta. With this logic, you are going to map. You are going to map the 9 level space vector problem into 5 level space vector problem. So once after 9 level problem is simplified into 5 level problem, then you have to convert that 5 level into 2 level. It is like a disintegration of higher level hexagons into lower level hexagons. At the end, you are going to find out the 2 level hexagon, and then conventional 2 level approach you are going to apply. So once after 5 level hexagon is over, this is your 5 level hexagon, where you have a 18 2 level hexagons, 18 outer 2 level hexagons, and 6 inner 2 level hexagons are there. So this is the among 24 2 level hexagons, one particular hexagon is going to be selected based on the angle of magnitude of v reference vector 5. Whatever be a v reference 5 is nothing but root of v5 alpha square plus v5 beta square. So based on the value of that v reference 5, you are going to select one particular 2 level hexagon. If here, no problem. If your reference vector magnitude is less than 2e, then your reference vector may lie somewhere here. If it is more than 2e, then your reference vector lies somewhere here. So straight away you are going to select any 2 level hexagon. Okay. If a reference vector lies inside 3 level hexagon, then what we have to do? You have to again disintegrate this 3 level hexagon into 6 2 level hexagon. Like this. Okay, whenever you are disintegrating higher level hexagon into lower level hexagon, each time you have to map the reference vector as well. Okay, because initially we have mapped 9 level, we have mapped reference vector from 9 level to 5 level. After that, 5 level to either 3 level or either 2 level you have to map. So since in the 5 level hexagon we have a 24 2 level hexagons are there, right? So to map 24 2 level hexagons, this is the logic. This is for outer 18 2 level hexagons, and this is inner 3 level hexagon. So mapping is straight away getting from 5 level, right? So v5 alpha minus 3 v5 alpha. Then how to select this respect to 2 level hexagons? You are going to pick OH2 vector, means OH2 outer level hexagon. So according to that, you are going to map this reference vector, and we are going to convert reference vector with respect to the 2 level hexagon. So in this way, you are going to select 2 level hexagon. Once your 2 level hexagon is, this is like a switching steps. I told you, right, redundancy switching steps. So when you are going for higher level inverters, this instant you have only one voltage vector. If you want to realize this particular voltage, you have a 2 switching steps. Means if you want to realize this particular voltage, then you have a 3 voltage vectors. As if inverter level goes on increases, the number of voltage vectors goes on increases. So where you are getting these are, suppose for a 0 vector you have a 9 voltage vectors, means 9 redundancy vectors are there. If you give any switching pattern, you will get this. Only you are going to design the switching frequency by considering the objective. Every space vector can be designed based on the criteria, whether their objective is to minimize the switching loss, whether their objective is to improve the reliability, whether their objective is to control the output voltage. Based on the objective only, this single technique can be applicable for different criteria. without uh, reducing the output voltage. Even though there is a fault in your inverter, in some cases, even though there is a fault in your inverter, there is a chance of producing balanced output voltage without cutting power to the load. So once a two-level hexagon is selected from the 9 level, then conventional approach, whatever we have discussed for two-level hexagons, what after finding two-level hexagon, let us say OH1 is selected, means in this your tip of the reference vector lies. Then what we have to do? We have to find out the voltage dwell times. So after finding the dwell times, then you have to design a switching sequence. Based on that switching sequence, you are going to trigger the switches which are present in the inverter, so that you are going to get output voltage accordingly as per your objective. And this is the switching pattern. The tell times along this switching sequence, the mapped in V reference to vector in sector 1. Suppose if the same is lies in reference vector 2, this is the switching pattern. It's like a 7 segment. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This 7 segment switching sequence, and this also 7 segment switching sequence. And this is further modified. So if you see previously, we have considered 144 two-level hexagons. So more number of two-level hexagon means more lookup tables you have to write. Further, what we did, by neglecting the dark shaded portion, so you can reduce the number of two-level hexagons to be considered for 9-level hexagon is to be reduced to 108. Previously in conventional it is 1296. With our approach, it is reduced to 144 in the first modified space vector modulation technique. Further modified space vector modulation, what we did, by neglecting the dark shaded portion, we can reduce it further to 108. So by doing this way, only at higher modulation index, there is you are going to select the neighboring two-level hexagon, because if your reference vector lies here, see, as you are neglected this portion, so if your reference vector lies here, you are going to select this nearest 3 vectors. So because of that, there may be a slight increase in the TSG and slightly reduce in the output voltage. This is happening from certain modulation range. Apart from that, we are both modified space vector predetermined technique and further modified space vector predetermined technique use both are same results. At you can do at m equal to only 12 outer two-level hexagons are considered, and other 6 outer two-level hexagons which are in the dark shaded portion are neglected. Because by doing this, we have reduced the mathematical burden on the control strategy. Mathematical burden of the control strategy is reduced by reducing the number of two-level hexagons to be considered for 9-level inverter. Same. Gives less hormone distortion in the output voltage compared to further modified MSC PWM technique. If the modulation index is varies from 0 to 0.7, both technique will use the same hormone distortion content in the output voltage. Only thing is, whenever your modulation index is in this range, so that time your reference vector may lie in your dark shaded portion, as your dark shaded portion is neglected. So because of that, there is a slight increase in the harmonic distortion. So these are the simulation results, and this is where since we have considered cascaded H switch for our work. So since it's a 9-level inverter, so in a single phase we require 4 H bridge cells. So these are 4, and each bridge is excited with 100 volts DC source, and sampling frequency we have considered is 2100 Hz. And for the application of topology, we have considered here RL load. So since you can connect any AC load as well, induction motor load for a drive purpose. Just to validate the topology, we have connected here RL, and as I already told you, if you have a constant DC voltage and you want to control the output voltage, what are the option is only by controlling the modulation index. Okay, so this is the nine level output voltage for different values of modulation index. This is for modified SPPWM technique and further modified MEPWM technique. I already told you if modulation index lies in between 0 to 0.76. What is that value? 0 to 0.77. Both techniques use the same results. If 0.77 to unity, then there is a slight change. Same here. So this is for unity modulation index, and this is for 0.8 modulation index, and this is for 0.6 modulation index. This is for 0.4 modulation index, and this is for 0.2 modulation index. So from 0.2 to 0.6, both techniques use the same results. But the thing is, neglected the portion, dark shaded portion. So that way you can see here also phase voltage distortion for 9 level inverter. So for unity modulation index 21, and there's a slight increase 22, and 0.5 25 26, but 0.6 0.4 0.2 both techniques use the same results. And similarly, this is for line voltage. Since whatever these results are related to 9 level phase voltage, and these results are related to 9 level line voltage, and line voltage harmonic disruption as well as fundamental line RMS voltage for different modulation index. So you can see the line voltage TSD is 8.65, whereas your further modified is 9.58. Only you can see different values for 2.8 and 1.0. So remaining modulation is all are same, and not only TSD, in the RMS output voltage as well. For unity modulation index, you have a 562.3 RMS voltage, whereas in further modified you have a 545. So there is a slight decrease in the RMS voltage. At that time there is a slight increase in the THD. So in further modified SPPWM compared to modified SPPWM, due to neglecting the dark shaded portion in order to reduce the mathematical burden of the modulation technique. This is like dynamic load. So since here you have, this is for RL load and this is your induction motor load. There is a dynamic load. So since whatever be the nature of load, your output voltage profile doesn't changes for an inverter. So output voltage profile is same, but since induction motor has more inductance, RL load have considered less in harmonics. Phase voltage has a dominant third harmonics in the space vector, whereas in the line voltage all the third harmonics are disappear. Why? Because in the line voltage is a difference between the two phase voltage, right? Third harmonics has 0 phase sequence, so both are going to be filtered. As the space vector is applied for 3-phase system, only line voltage is going to be required, even though there is a third harmonics are present in the phase voltage. If you see, this is a phase current or a load current TSD 17.82, because this is happened due to this dominant third harmonics. This is happened because if you connected load neutral and inverter neutrals, as well as load neutral, then these third harmonics may not present. So that's what my observation is. And this is what induction motor load, where you can see 5.62 TSD, and this is the experimental results. This is for phase voltage using MSU-PWM technique, and this is your line voltage, and this is phase current. I already told you, since the phase voltage has a dominant third harmonics, because of third harmonics present in the phase voltage, your phase current has also is having a third harder harmonics. Because of that only your waveform is not smoothing. This is happening because as while taking hardware results, we have connected both inverter neutral as well as load neutral are joined together. So whatever the harmonics present in the phase voltage, it's appeared across the phase current. So if you disconnect the neutrals, then this is your phase voltage for FM, further modified phase vector PWM technique, and this is your respective third harmonic profile, hardware harmonic profile, frequency spectra, where you can see this is your phase voltage harmonic spectra. You can see third order harmonic. If you see, whereas line voltage, you don't have any third order harmonics. So since as we are designed the system for three-phase system, so line voltage matters. So this is the phase voltage frequency spectra at unity modulation index for further MOSFET. Even whatever be the space vector technique, phase voltage has dominant star harmonics. So that can be eliminated in line voltage naturally. So without any control. The thing is, if you don't want to carry your phase voltage harmonics into load current, simply you just disconnect the both neutrals, isolate the both neutrals together. And these are my conclusions. So proposed techniques and lookup tables. So in this technique, what we have done, we have reduced it drastically 1296 to 144 in one first modulation technique. In the second modulation technique, further we have reduced it to 108. And we have shown the simulation results for 9-level CHB inverter. So we can say that this both technique use better results by reducing the complexity in realization with respect to space vector pulse modulation for multi-level inverters. The thing is how we can relate to the electric vehicle means this is whatever I have discussed, how to control the inverter. Whenever you are realizing any drive, if you want to realize any closed loop drive, simply that inverter you are connected some AC motor, and then you are going to design closed loop control. So while designing a closed loop control, nowadays many artificial net PA conventionally PA controllers are there, 5G controllers are there, neural networks are there. So any whatever I have discussed, those are just techniques. These techniques you can control by realizing a closed loop control so that you are going to achieve as per your desired load performance. And these are the references that I have considered for this. Thank you. Prabhu sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I request participants, if there is any questions, you can unmute yourself and you can ask. I request the participant, if there is any questions from your side, you can unmute yourself and you can ask. Sir, before the question from the participant side, I would like to ask one question, sir. Can I, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So here we are discussing with the multi-level inverter PWM technique for EV applications. So which type of multi-level inverter will be suitable for EVs, which related to our road conditions?
So basically, so with respect to the road conditions, so topology is not matters. Whatever be the road conditions, topology is nowhere related to road condition. But the thing is, when you are designing EVs, size issue is there. So you have to go for reduced switch count multi-level inverter topology. With less switches, you have to raise more level of inverter levels. Why? Because multi-level inverter output is AC, right? So if you are providing better AC voltage to the load, then your load performance is going to be improved. So what my answer is, better to select
Another one question has been came in the chat box, sir. So the question is, if you are reducing the switches, the voltage stress in the switch will be increased. So that will impact the heat flow in the switches. So that may degrade the efficiency of the system. Either they are asking, sir.
Voltage stress on the switch means it depends on the type of the topology, how they have developed the topology. Thing is, when you're operating in asymmetric configuration or symmetric configuration, then voltage stress is coming into the picture. But with respect to the EV point of view, we can go for symmetrical topology so that both voltage sources we are going to select the same magnitude so that the voltages on the any switches remains uniform. So go for symmetrical topology, sir, so that whatever you are concerned about efficiency and switch states as well as switching losses, you can overcome by going for such topologies. There are number of topologies are available in the literature. So based on your application point of view, you can select any one of such topology.
Is there is another question from participant? You can unmute yourself and you can ask. Okay. So I think we have come to an end of this session, day 2. So I would like to gratefully thank you for the valuable session by giving this tremendous effort for this schedule in this presentation on the topic of multi-level inverter PWM technique for the application of EVs. And this session will be informative for the participants who are working in the area of electrical vehicle, especially on the power electronics side. So I would like to thank you once again, sir, for this valuable session. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you for the participants for attending the session.
So thank you for everyone attending the session. And the next session will be start by tomorrow, 10 o'clock. So the feedback link will be given to you in the WhatsApp group. Thank you for everyone attending the session. Have a nice day.